Let's talk about T'Challa, because there's something strange about him. He's a king, a warrior, a global leader, a scientist by inheritance, and yet he never looks rushed. He's never frantic, never scrambling, never drowning in information. While everyone else is reacting, T'Challa is already prepared, and that's not because he's slow. It's because he's a completely different relationship with learning. Here's the mistake most people make about productivity. They think productivity is about speed, doing more, consuming more, hustling harder. T'Challa shows us something else. Real productivity is about readiness, being prepared before the moment arrives. Watch how T'Challa moves in the MCU. In Black Panther, he doesn't dominate conversations. He listens. He doesn't interrupt. He doesn't perform intelligence. He absorbs. And when he finally speaks, it's precise. That's not personality. That's training. T'Challa doesn't study the way most people do. He doesn't cram information when there's a problem. He's always learning when nothing urgent is happening. And that's the first lesson. Most people wait for pressure to start learning. A new job, a big presentation, a crisis. T'Challa learns before pressure exists, which means when pressure arrives, he's calm. That's why he never panics, because panic comes from unprepared minds. Here's what that looks like in real life. T'Challa treats every conversation like it might matter later, in a paranoid way. Not in a paranoid way, in a respectful way. He listens for patterns, motivations, unspoken tensions. He doesn't just hear words, he records context. That's why he remembers things others forget. And that's why he connects dots faster than those who work harder. But let's get practical. The biggest productivity lie we're told is you need better systems. T'Challa doesn't rely on complex systems, he relies on attention, one insight at a time. If T'Challa were sitting in your meetings, he wouldn't take pages of notes. He'd write down one thing, one insight, one pattern, one question worth remembering. That's it. Because depth beats volume every time. This is why he always sounds intelligent. Not because he knows everything, but because he remembers what matters. And most people don't. Here's the second lesson, and this one changes how you lead. T'Challa doesn't chase information, he lets information come to him. He asks better questions instead of trying to sound impressive. That's power moves. Because when you ask the right question, you control the direction of the room. Notice how often T'Challa says very little, and then asks something that reframes the entire situation. That's not luck. That's someone who's been quietly collecting knowledge long before the moment demanded it. Now, how does this matter for you? Most people are overwhelmed not because they're lazy, but because they're reactive. They're always catching up. T'Challa never falls behind, because his learning is continuous, not episodic. Here's the tiny habit behind all of this. At the end of the day, T'Challa would ask one question. What did I learn today that future me will need? Then he'd write it down. Not 10 things, not a journal, not insights. One insight, that's it. And tomorrow he'd do it again. That's how kings stay sharp. Not by grinding, by accumulating. This style of learning doesn't just make you smarter, it changes how people treat you. When you consistently remember context, when you reference past conversations, and when you connect ideas across time, people assume you're more capable, not because you told them, because you showed them. That's leadership without noise. There's one more layer to T'Challa's productivity, though, that matters. He's not addicted to urgency. He doesn't confuse movement with progress, and that's rare. Urgent people look busy, prepared people look calm, and calm leaders create calm teams. That's why T'Challa's presence stabilizes rooms. He doesn't need to dominate, his readiness does the work for him. Now let's bring it home. You don't need vibranium, you don't need Wakanda, you don't need a throne. You need intentional learning. So here's your challenge, and it's simple. For the next 7 days, write down one thing you learned per day. Review it briefly before your next meeting. Ask one better question instead of giving one extra opinion. And that's it. No apps, no systems, no overhaul. Just attention. Because T'Challa teaches us something most people miss. The most powerful people aren't the loudest. They're the most prepared. And preparation isn't built in moments of pressure. It's built quietly, long before anyone notices. So are you trying to look productive?